106. The Resuscitated Corpse. A certain old man lived at Saitian in the Yangxin district. The village was some miles from the district city, and he and his son kept a roadside inn where travelers could pass the night. One day, as it was getting dusk, 4 strangers presented themselves and asked for a night's lodging, to which the landlord replied that every bed was already occupied. The 4 men declared it was impossible for them to go back and urged him to take them in somehow. And at length, the landlord said he could give them a place to sleep in if they were not too particular, which the strangers immediately assured him they were not. The fact was that the old man's daughter-in-law had just died, and that her body was lying in the women's quarters, waiting for the coffin which his son had gone away to buy. So the landlord led them round thither, and walking in, placed a lamp on the table. At the further end of the room lay the corpse, decked out with paper robes, etc., in the usual way. And in the foremost section were sleeping couches for 4 people. The travelers were tired, and throwing themselves on the beds, were soon snoring loudly, with the exception of one of them, who was not quite off when suddenly he heard a creaking of the trestles on which the dead body was laid out, and opening his eyes, he saw by the light of the lamp in front of the corpse that the girl was raising the coverings from her and preparing to get down. In another moment she was on the floor and advancing towards the sleepers. Her face was of a light yellow hue, and she had a silk kerchief round her head. And when she reached the beds, she blew on the other 3 travelers, whereupon the 4th, in a great fright, stealthily drew up the bedclothes over his face and held his breath to listen. He heard her breathe on him as she had done on the others, and then heard her go back again and get under the paper robes, which rustled distinctly as she did so. He now put out his head to take a peep, and saw that she was lying down as before. Whereupon, not daring to make any noise, he stretched forth his foot and kicked his companions, who, however, showed no signs of moving. He now determined to put on his clothes and make a bolt for it. But he had hardly begun to do so before he heard the creaking sound again, which sent him back under the bedclothes as fast as he could go. Again the girl came to him, and breathing several times on him, went away to lie down as before, as he could tell by the noise of the trestles. He then put his hand very gently out of bed, and seizing his trousers, got quickly into them, jumped up with a bound, and rushed out of the place as fast as his legs would carry him. The corpse, too, jumped up. But by this time the traveler had already drawn the bolt, and was outside the door, running along and shrieking at the top of his voice, with the corpse following close behind. No one seemed to hear him, and he was afraid to knock at the door of the inn for fear they should not let him in time. So he made for the highway to the city, and after a while he saw a monastery by the roadside, and hearing the wooden fish, he ran up and thumped with all his might at the gate. The priest, however, did not know what to make of it, and would not open to him. And as the corpse was only a few yards off, he could do nothing but run behind a tree which stood close by, and there shelter himself, dodging to the right as the corpse dodged to the left, and so on. This infuriated the dead girl to madness, and at length, as tired and panting, they stood watching each other on opposite sides of the tree, the corpse made a rush forward with one arm on each side in the hope of thus grabbing its victim. The traveler, however, fell backwards and escaped, while the corpse remained rigidly embracing the tree. By and by the priest, who had been listening from the inside, hearing no sounds for some time, came out and found the traveler lying senseless on the ground, whereupon he had him carried into the monastery, and by morning they had got him round again. After giving him a little broth to drink, he related the whole story. And then, in the early dawn, they went out to examine the tree, where they found the girl fixed tightly to the tree. The news being sent to the magistrate, that functionary attended at once in person, and gave orders to remove the body. But this they were at first unable to do, the girl's fingers having penetrated into the bark so far that her nails were not to be seen. At length they got her away, and then a messenger was dispatched to the inn, already in a state of great commotion over the 3 travelers who had been found dead in their beds. The old man accordingly sent to fetch his daughter-in-law, and the surviving traveler petitioned the magistrate, saying, "4 of us left home, but only 1 will go back. Give me something that I may show to my fellow townsmen." So the magistrate gave him a certificate and sent him home again.
Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more excellent content.